Hey guys, welcome to or back to my channel. I'm Vanessa Canby and today I'm going to be talking about what it's really like to model. I modelled for 10 whole years. I think it was 10 years. I started when I was 12. I sort of stopped when I was 22. I have a little bit of experience in the modelling world. How to start modelling, or how I got into modelling. So normally to start modelling you either get scouted, which is when somebody comes and finds you on the street or wherever you might be and says, do you want to model? You look like you could be a good model. Another way is if you go into an agency, if you think you could be a model, or if a lot of people have told you that you could be a modeler, and you go into the agency and see what they say. So for me, when I was 12 years old, I got scouted when I was in Stirling, of all places, this basically little place in Scotland, at this shopping centre, and there was a fashion show on, so I was watching it. I was like 12 or 13, 12 I think. And somebody came up to me from an agency in Scotland and said, you look like you'd be perfect to model. I was tall, I probably wasn't that thin, but anyway. Then I started modelling with them in Scotland. So the next part about modelling is castings. So you might see a picture of somebody in a magazine, but what you don't see is the fact that they have been casted by somebody. Either people have gone to a casting, so when I started modelling in London, I came during Fashion Week. Wow, like, is all I can say. I remember getting 10 castings in one day. Now in Scotland there was maybe like one casting every 2 to 3 weeks. It was really not that deep. Whereas in London there was like 10 castings in one day. I had to like write them all down. I got a London A to Z, must have been like pre-Google Maps, but actually I don't think it was. I think I just wanted to make sure that I knew exactly where I was going. And I would run around all these places all over London to go and meet either a casting director or somebody who's casting for that brand to see if they wanted me. You'll go in with your book. Your book is your portfolio of work. So you might get test shoots, which is working with a photographer to get images for your book that people will see, or it's previous work you've done with other brands or magazines or whatever. You basically show that, they look at it, then they look at you, and then you might have to try on a bit of clothing, but not normally. You might need to walk, depending on if it's for a catwalk, you would walk up and down and they would watch you walk, see if you can walk properly. And then they'll decide, goodness only knows when, but not that day, who they want. And then they would call your agency if they want you. But if they don't want you, you don't hear about it. So most times, I don't know the ratio of how many casting you'd go to how many jobs you'd get. Obviously it depends on the person. Somebody like Cara Delevingne is probably going to get every single casting she goes to, but I was not getting every single casting that I was going to. Another way to get cast for work is that somebody would just look on the website and direct book you. So they would just call up the agency and book you straight away because they're sure that from your pictures and from your measurements, you are who they want. I think now as well, because I stopped so long ago now, like 4 years ago, I think people find people through Instagram as well. But Instagram wasn't such a big thing back then. It only really started to be when I was leaving, and that your number of followers on Instagram and that sort of thing started to really matter in terms of if brands wanted to book you or if they didn't. But for the majority of time when I was modelling, that really wasn't a thing. So the actual jobs. So once you've got booked, once you've found your agency, I should say, I walked into my agency in London. I walked in there when they actually had a Channel 4 documentary shooting. So afterwards I could watch back when I walked in, what they said about me after I left. Luckily it was good things. So yeah, so once you've booked a job, so they've thought, hey, yeah, you're the right person for me, then you have the job. And what does that entail, you may ask? You will get a call sheet. So Modeling is not a thing where you find out what you're doing 2 weeks in advance or a month in advance. No, 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 no. You find out the night before most of the time. If it's like a bigger job that you might be traveling for, you probably would maybe find out a few days before. But I'm pretty sure I got booked for a job in Paris when I was in London, and I found out the night before. And obviously the accommodation and the travel is all booked and paid for by the company that's booking you, so you don't have to worry about that. But that really leaves you at a sense of like, I don't know, you can't make your own plans. Well, anyway, that's how I felt, because I didn't know when I was gonna have a job. I didn't go on holiday. This is actually a big thing that, looking back, I didn't go on holiday because I didn't want to like miss a big job. I didn't want to miss out on a good casting. So I wouldn't go on holiday. I didn't go on holiday for really years. And you just don't know what's going to happen next. So basically, you'll get an email every evening with your castings and if you've got a job the next day. So then you obviously have to plan your next day around that email. So let's say you get an email that says, yeah, you've been booked for a job tomorrow. It's going to be at this address, at this time. That's it. Add the luxury of working with a lot of really, really nice brands and a lot of really nice people. I think this is like a misconception about modeling, that people are like bitchy or not really nice. I would say that most of the people, if not all of the people that I worked with and that I met, the other models, the casting directors, the makeup artists, stylists, hairdressers, photographers, you know, like set design people, so many people go into it, and everyone, a lot of people that I met were just so nice. And it was so amazing to work with so many different people, because day to day, every job is going to be different. You might have regular clients that you work with every single week, which I had one client that I worked with every week for I think like over a year. And that is great because you get to see the same people and you build up relationships with them, like friendships. But I also loved working with all different people, meeting so many people and working with different brands and all that sort of thing. I really loved that as well. So that's probably one thing I really, really miss about modeling, is working with different people, meeting new people. Oh, do you know what? Like, now that I really reflect on my time as modeling, I'm kind of like, that's sad, but whatever. No, there's reasons. I'm gonna do a part 2 video, which is gonna be the reasons why I stopped modeling and what I really think about the modeling industry. But this video is just about what it's like to be a model. The job, obviously, like presentable, no nail varnish. That's another thing, I could never have my nails done. So I always had plain nails, like now I have plain nails. But when I stopped modeling, I remember like I used to I got shellac for like the first time, and I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, you can have shellac. Could have never had braids, unless that was like the style that was in my book and everything. Because really and truly, if they see you looking a certain way on your portfolio, that's how they want you to turn up to the job. They don't want to see you with long straight hair or long curly hair and you're turning up with a shaved head, because that'll throw off their whole campaign or their job or whatever they're planning. So you basically have to look like how you look in the picture. That brings us on to weight. That's the thing I dislike the most about the modeling industry. The pressure to be thin, basically. And I hope that it's changing now. Obviously, I've not really modeled properly in 4 years. So I do think things have changed with like body positivity. So I know people who are, you know, size 12 in modeling now, which is so great. And obviously there's plus size models now, and all that is really amazing and steps in the right direction. But when I was modeling as a standard size model, which meant that I basically had to be certain measurements, which was, do you know what, I can't remember, but I'm gonna put them up here. And I don't think I was ever the right measurements, which meant that there was a lot of pressure on me to be those sizes in order to get jobs and I had once a client say that I was getting too big, and I wasn't big. Like now, this is like the biggest that I've been probably, and I'm not in any way fat just now. So think about it. Back then, I used to be like, basically I was like a 6 to an 8 size wise, probably like an 8 most of the time. Now I'm like a 10 to a 12, more likely a 12 than a 10. But this is like my natural body size. So for me to be that size, it was quite difficult in terms of I just really couldn't eat that much, and that affects people in a big way, because I'm somebody that can take somebody saying to me that I'm too big and that I need to lose weight and that it's really easy, all I need to do is XYZ. But some people can't take that, like, well, you know, what if you're taking that seriously? Like, you know, if you don't lose the weight, that's really it. And if you're under a lot of pressure, especially by your family, if you're from another country and you've come to the UK to model and you're thinking, no, this is really it, I actually have to lose this weight and do it unhealthily to do it quickly, that's where I've got a problem with it. I've just got a problem with the weight thing. But I understand that the agencies are under pressure by the companies. It's not any individual. I don't have a problem with any individual person. It's the whole system. And because I used to do work for like different brands and stuff, I never really kept in my head that, oh, I've worked for all these brands. So now, like, when people say to me, like, who did you work for? I'm like, oh, like this and that and this. But it wasn't something that I really lodged in my head. Also because it was over such a like long period of time of like 10 years. That is a long time. And you know, imagine you were like an accountant and I was asking you, oh, tell me all the names of all the people that you've ever worked for. As if you're going to be able to do that. But I think because obviously it's modelling and it could be exciting for working with this brand and this brand, and it is actually great to work with different brands. At the end of the day, it is obviously work. You might not see the job, like it depends what it is, you might not see the end result. I did this really cool job for quite a big brand in like Germany or something like that. I never saw the images, and I remember trying to contact the company, but because they were released in Germany, I never saw them, and it also wasn't a big time of social media. So it wasn't like they were posting the pictures on social media, they were literally in Germany somewhere, like on something. So I never got to see them. So sometimes that can be, you know, a bit disappointing, but at the end of the day, do you really care? Like, I mean, it's great to see your images and to get them for your book and that sort of things, but it's not really important that you get to see all the work that you do, because you've done your job, which is showing up and doing a good job. So yeah, you might not get to see it, you might get to see it, depending on what it is, where it's going and that sort of thing. Sometimes as well, people think of the best jobs being, I don't know, like campaign for this person or whatever, but getting like a sustainable, maybe like commercial job or something like that, or doing like a random job like for some company you would never think of, could pay like so much money and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's a funny one, modelling. If you want to see part 2, which will be my real experience of modelling, why I stopped, my issues with it, and yeah, then let me know in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and see you next time. Make sure to subscribe, please hit the like button, and do you model? Who do you model for? Let me know.